Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to this offline seminar on Operation Management Future Transformation in Industry 5.0. This event is a collaboration with IKAPRAMA Supply Chain Club. My name is Wanda Khofifah, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. As an alumna of Prasetiya Mulya University, graduate in 2018 with a degree of hospitality business, and currently working as marketing business development manager at Ekspedingin. It's a startup logistic company specialized in frozen food delivery. I think it's a privilege for me to be part of this insightful discussion. Today we have fantastic offline speakers who will share their expertise and also share their insight on the topic. First speaker is Mr. Marfan, the COO of Digital Transformation of Government Procurement at Telkom Indonesia. Mr. Marfan will presenting on the operation management approach for Industry 5.0. And our second speaker is Mr. Martyn, the founder of PT Bhumi Varta. He will discussing geospatial intelligence transforming business decision making. And I would like to inform you, the audience, that we will have Q&A session. This is your chance to engage with our speakers. Don't forget to prepare your question. Dan saya ingatkan juga kepada 3 pertanyaan terbaik nanti akan diberikan hadiah dari kita. Let's start. It's time for the sharing session. We'll begin with Mr. Marfan, who will present the operation management approach for Industry 5.0. Please welcome Mr. Marfan.
Thank you. Thank you, Wanda. I'll just stand. So I'll do English bahasa campur-campur, nggak apa-apa ya. Okay, so if I'm too fast or I'm too slow, just tell me, okay? I'll speed up. So afternoon, everyone. I'm super glad to be here. I'm super glad to be surrounded by very great people on Saturday afternoon. Can you imagine that? So I'll be speaking about operation management approach for Industry 5.0. Some of you might be asking, what the hell is operation Industry 5.0? I'm like, we're like 4.0 right now. And then who's this masters? Okay. Some of you who's probably in college right now, whether you're doing your bachelor or postgraduate, might be, some of you may have gone to Pa Elliot's class or Pa Ade, operation strategy or operations management. And some of you might ask operations management with Industry 5.0. Okay, let me hear about that. So without further ado, continue. So save that questions, all right? Next. Yeah, okay. So again, the aim of this slide is not to tell you what I have done, but the aim to this slide is to tell you that I'm covering a couple of industries. So whether you are working right now in a food and beverage industry, in pharmaceutical company, in a logistic company, in oil and gas, in energy, in property development, technology, whatever it is, you can always ask anything related to operations to me. Well, outside operations, I also like to talk about human capital management. I used to be, I once human capital manager for Schlumberger, drilling and measurement. And I also do business development before. And I also like golf. So anyway, so I work in PLN before. I work in energy related company before. I work in ITDC. Yes, the MotoGP, blah, 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 WSBK, I was part of it. And that's just like 10% of what I did before. And I recently, well, it says, Wanda says that I'm the CEO of Telkom. Yes, I was CEO of Telkom until a few days ago. So actually, if you see the pamphlet, I'm a former COO. So I didn't while I'm waiting for another assignment. I left the company. I'm waiting for another assignment. But yes, I was part of one of the startup that belongs to Telkom. It's called GovTech Procurement. Yeah, there's the GovTech Edu, there's Peduli Lindungi, there's My Pertamina. So Telkom has a couple of stuff, and sometimes they got confused what to do with the product, whether they spun that off or whatever it is. So I was doing GovTech procurement. I was making an apps, a super apps like a marketplace app for government of Indonesia to take care of the whole procurement processes from ministry, local government, and all that. Okay. So yes, I'm actually still waiting for my graduation in Prasetiya Mulya. I just finished my thesis a month ago, and also the revision. So good luck for those who are still struggling with that. And before Prasmul, I was in ITB. I was doing electrical engineering, but trust me, I forgot everything about electrical engineering. So next. Okay, what you will be hearing from me. Okay, so I'll move around. Okay, what you will be hearing from me. Oh yeah, makasih. What is Industry 5.0? So for those of you who've been asking what is 5.0, yes, I will answer that. And then operations management in a glance. So trust me, I'm not going to give you Pak Elliot's classes or Pak Ade's classes, but I'll give you just a refreshment on operations management. And I'm going to tell you about what trends of operations management that is in 2022 and 2023. But things changes rapidly, okay? If you don't believe me, ask Martyn. He's, been dealing with changes a lot. And then I'm also going to give you in between how to align operations management approach with the trends in 2023, 2022. And last but not least, we have a couple of Q&A sessions. So make sure you prepare your questions. If it's not finished, I mean, if your questions are not answered, I'll probably be here until, even after the event. Right. So Industry 5.0. So I'll refresh your memory, including mine as well. So Industry 1.0 mechanizations. Yeah, sorry for that. Pak James Cook bikin mesin uap. Nah, itu Industry 1.0. Nah, and then we got 2.0, 3.0 automations, and then we got 4.0. The difference between 4.0 is just digitalizations, all right? Jadi kita generasi yang melek digital, ya kita adalah part of 4.0. Is it finished yet? No one can tell me, but actually we're still there. But what I know for sure is, even we're still in the middle of Industry 4.0, the terms of Industry 5.0 has already come. What's the difference? The difference is, sorry if it's too small, but I'll just quote one of the definitions from European Union. So Industry 5.0 provides vision, right, of industry that aims beyond efficiency and productivity as a goal. So basically, you guys who probably work in a company, study in business school, what you aim first is actually productivity, growth, efficiency, and all that. Pak Jisman, Prof. Jisman, maybe during your orientation will say, hey, we're not only doing that, we're doing things for the society as well. We have to promote sustainability. Yes, that's actually one of the trends of business nowadays. So, and the difference between 4.0 and 5.0 is on the second sentences. So it places, sorry for that. So it places well-being of the worker at the center of production process and uses new technologies to provide prosperity beyond jobs and growth while respecting the production's limits of the planet. Okay. To make this even more making sense, I'll go with the pillars of Industry 5.0. So there are three pillars of Industry 5.0. First thing first is human-centric, okay? So human-centric is said to be replacing customer-centric. So if it's normal operation, if it's normal industry, you want to focus on customers, right? But in Industry 5.0, you want to focus on the human side of the industry, and that being said is actually your own employees or your own people in the company. So instead of gaining competitive advantage and using it to create added value for customers, companies need to create unique added value for employees. So, but relax, we're not forgetting we're not forgetting about the customers. We're just on top of customers. We're also focusing on the employees. Okay, I'll tell you why later. And then resilient is a word that is really common, particularly when we faces pandemic or post-pandemic situation. So the second pillar is resilience in such a way that industry has to be anti-fragile. Industry, I mean, crisis has been proven comes now and then. Okay, I was in energy before. I joined Schlumberger in 2009. It was just a year after the crisis, the oil field crisis in 2008. So when everyone was laid off, I was just like joining the company and hey, who you are, okay? My friends got fired and then you came, okay? And then 2015, another crisis came in. So oil price was plummeting from $120 per barrel becomes $30, $40 per barrel. Everyone loses jobs, okay? And I was actually part of people who's making everyone losing job because I was the HR. So the point is, the company needs to be standing up, recover from that crisis, no matter what crisis is that. And then why pandemic has kind of opened the eye of all the CEO founders and all the and the funders that gave money to this to the company, because pandemic situation has shown that company that has not prepared for any crisis will no longer be there after crisis ends. All right. So we'll talk about resilience after that. Last but not least is sustainable. Sustainable, okay, sustainable isn't every company doing sustainability right now, the CSR program and all that? Yes, but up to which degree, up to how far they would go into CSR. For those of you who probably work in state-owned enterprise, you probably hear about a program called PKBL, Bina Lingkungan, apa ya, PKBL. It's basically CSR, okay? Oh, Program Kemitraan dan Bina Lingkungan, okay? PKBL. If you work in Pertamina, Telkom, whatever, any small BUMN, any small state-owned enterprise, there will be PKBL. It's actually CSR. But do you know how far those CSR goes? Some CSRs are actually, you know, empower everyone, empower society, empower villagers, so that they are, for example, the one in Mandalika, not because of ITDC, but because of Bank Indonesia, they actually produce coffee beans, one of the best coffee beans that is exported not only to European country, but also America. And it's been there for 8 years. I tasted the coffee. I'm actually one of the coffee freak. I tasted the coffee, I exploded. So it was really good. So yeah, how far the sustainability, okay? Next, operation management. This is the boring part, okay? I'm just going to be really fast on this. So operation management, it's just the field of management. It has designing, controlling, improving processes. It's all about processes. So basically, operation management is field of management that takes care about processes, ensuring that the output and the input is actually, you know, connecting to each other, and then most importantly, giving value to the customers. In 4.0, in 5.0, it's different thing. Okay. So, what are the areas of operational management? There are 7 or 8. I keep forgetting about this. So, designing processes and systems, capacity planning, inventory management, quality control. You need to have quality management system there. Supply chain management. Okay, without supply chain management, without good supply chain management, your business is going down. Process improvement, and sustainability and ethical consideration. These are the elements of operations management. We can talk about this later on, all right? It's just refreshment. So to wrap operations management up, okay? So operations management plays super vital role in optimizing organizational processes, enhancing efficiency, delivering value to the customers. So it encompasses a wide range of activities that requires multidisciplinary approach. So as an operations management, you're not only needing operations manager, you also need every expertise inside, okay? You even need financial control inside that. Now, current trends in operations management. Okay, here's something new. Okay, and if you try to Google it, you'll probably get different answer. Okay, so I kind of took a couple of trends from a couple of sources as well. So I kind of combine this because I'm not sure that someone can define the trends for the whole world, for global level. Okay, so culture is more important than ever. So company culture, why is it more important? What's the proof? Okay, I'll tell you later. And then automations will continue to expand. Okay, business processes first or automation first? These are the things that you want to answer. Communications needs to be seamless. Why? Okay, communication is just communications. But for you who has been probably who was born before 90s, like me, communications is super overwhelming right now. You can get messages from WhatsApp and then reply in Telegram, and then you also forward something in Instagram, and then you got reminder from your Slack and a couple of probably project management software. Okay, so it's overwhelming. Customer expects speed above all else. Okay, why speed? In operations management, there are 5 performance objectives. Why speed? Speed is just one of them. Okay, actually, it's because of the marketplace. I'll tell you again. Sustainability becomes qualifier. If you see that the trends are actually moving towards the industry 5.0, especially the sustainability, okay? And the first one, culture. Now, I'll go one by one. First, culture is more important than ever. Why? There are 3 things that I want to highlight here. First may not be related to Indonesia, which is called the Great Resignations. Tell me, who knows about Great Resignation or even heard about that? No, you're not included. You're not included. Yeah, the reasons why you probably haven't heard about it, or probably just hearing a little bit about it, about this, is because it's not really affecting Indonesians. It's actually the other way around. What's the common issues in companies right now? Layoffs, right? Especially in technology company, including mine. Okay, but mine is plat merah, so it's okay. Yeah. So the Great Resignations refers to an event post-pandemic, during pandemic and post-pandemic, where millions of people, actually 4.4 millions of people in the US, actually they quit the job during pandemic. Can you imagine that? Okay. And then according to the survey that I'll show you, yeah, the 3 most reasons why people actually left the company joining the Great Resignation is toxic company culture, low salary, and poor management. All right. There are a lot of surveys like this. I'm just using one of them. Okay. And the numbers are quite matched between each surveys. So the thing is, what happened, right? And after the survey, you see that one of them is because of the culture, the company culture. What kind of culture actually? I'm actually hoping I'm hearing the culture, the toxic culture from you during your questions, during the Q&A sessions, and I'll probably dig more on what could be the root cause, right? And remote working. Remote working is something good, right? Who enjoys remote working? Well, people who actually live in outskirts of Jakarta and then work in Sudirman or Tamrin, like probably me and Pak Martin here, actually we enjoy remote working, yeah? But after a year, it actually poisoned us in such a way that it lacks of face-to-face supervision, whether you're the supervisor or you're the subordinate, okay? And then it's lacking of effective communications. How many times you guys have to repeat the same meetings, the same WhatsApp, the same email because your communications are not really clear, right? And then employee isolations. How many times you hear about healing during pandemic? Oh, it's time to heal, okay? It's time to heal, okay? No matter what kind of healing that you guys are using, okay? And then blur boundary between work and home. When I was working in oil and gas, the company used to promote, okay, here in Schlumberger, the work and balance is very well considered, okay? Yeah. So it's considered, but the work has to be more than the life. Okay, but during remote working, era, work and balance is no longer the word, because you're doing you're doing work at your home until you're blind, and until your guys are blinded, because you can no longer differentiate which one is work, which one is personal life. Okay, fun facts: more divorces happens during pandemic in Jakarta. All right. Okay, empowerment. Okay, empowerment is also something that is, if I try to dig out the company culture, there's a lot of lacking of empowerment. So it could be coming from over controlling management. It could also be coming from the feeling of being excluded from managerial discussions, especially those who works in technology company. Yeah, this is by management. This is by management. Okay, and then lack of trust and appreciations. All right, even as simple as, hey, good job. Okay. And lack of process ownership. Okay. Now, how can we improve company culture? There's a couple of things. We can encourage regular communications and collaborations, but no over communications, no repetitive communications, over opportunities for social interactions to reduce isolations and loneliness, provide support, guidance, feedback, blah, 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 and also model a healthy work-life balance by taking frequent breaks, blah, blah, blah. You can read that. You can take picture. I'll even share you the slide. But the most important thing is, have you guys measured the real problem before you do this stuff? Okay. Find the right measurement. All right. If you guys because company culture, toxic company culture is non-quantifiable, right? But you can approach it. You can quantify it. You can use a couple of metrics. You can use surveys with Likert scale or whatever scale it is. You can use employee engagement, employee engagement event, and then you absorb information from them. But the thing is, you have to measure before you do all of these things, because if you don't, in operations, any kind of operation aspect, if you don't measure your processes before you do some improvement, you will probably end up with repeating the same mistakes. Second one, automation. Automation, I don't think I think it's needless to say that everything has become more automated. I'm just taking a couple of examples in constructions. There's automations like the crane that is operated, remotely operated. It's not fully automations yet, but at least it actually improves safety and productivity. You can operate a couple of things, and then you actually improve, because you can actually improve safety because you reduce the exposure of hazards. Oil and gas, it's also like that. When I left the company in 2016, Schlumberger, Schlumberger with other competitors like Halliburton, Weatherford, and all that, and even Baker Hughes, they are actually moving towards remote operations. They're drilling from afar. So everything is remotely operated, all those drilling tools. Again, the aim for that is actually to reduce the exposures of safety hazards. Hospitality. Now, this is really interesting. If you happen to go to China or Taiwan, like one of the key blood for technology in hospitality, you'll see one of the you see a few processes from check-in to check-out has been done automatically. One of the example is this. This is the check-in counter. It's not even a person. This is just a hologram, but an AI generated hologram. So yes, you probably are lacking of personal touch, but who cares actually? If you just want to, if it's not 5-star hotel, you want the speed, right? Again, speed is more important nowadays. Human resources. How many of you have been recently looking for a job and got an answer from a machine? Yeah, for those of us who's looking for a job, it's not nice. But think of that in the shoes of HR managers and company. It saves a lot of processes. Have you imagined as an HR manager, you might be HR manager in a top 5 company, top 10 company in Indonesia or even in the world. How many resumes do you think you'll be having in one day? Thousands. How do you think you'll filter every resumes without automations? Okay, so my suggestion is, kalau kita dijawab mesin, jangan baper. Let's do it again. Or even if you can use machines to send resume, you can counter attack them. Okay. Communications need to be seamless. All right. So I kind of mentioned this in the beginning. The problem with communication is I used to grow up, and I'm not, I'm still, okay, I was born in 84. I'm nearly 40 right now, but I used to grow up where cell phone is not even there. So in order to pass one information to another, I have to use the most sophisticated thing was email, okay, or SMS. So the amount of informations that I can pass on is very limited. But the good thing is my brain capacity is more than the informations that I can absorb, right? It's not the case nowadays. How many chat apps that you can use? You can use Telegram, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, whatever it is, Google Meet, Google Chat, whatever, okay? Imagine if your company doesn't define the communications policy, it's going to be chaos. It is. So what I mean by effective communication is you really need to find the way to, to standardize the communication processes, no matter what kind of technology that you're using. So the key about operations management is not only, well, it's never the technology. Well, there is technology element on that, but it's actually more into the internal processes, the business processes first, then the technology. So if you're feeling that you're okay, like if you're getting message from WhatsApp and then you have to reply in Telegram and then you have to present on Google Meet and then you have to post it in Slack, it's actually one of the signs that your communication is not effective and it's going to, worst come to worst, it can lead to your operational objective are not met, whatever your operational objective is. Now, I'll take time in this. Customer expect speed more than above all else, thanks to the marketplace. Okay, how many of you are the type of buyer in marketplace that are not patient? Like me, if you're feeling like you've bought this, you will track that down until the seconds, right? So if you see the driver or the courier has been assigned to you, you will track him down. And then if you crisscross, like for example, one of the brand, sometimes they keep rolling and then back to the hub, and then it adds another day. How many of you even call the forwarder, the logistic company, and then say, hey, my stuff has already been in your hub, in your local hub, and your driver has taken all that around, and then he came back with my stuff. So the thing is, it's one of the reflections that you, as the customers, and also the rest of customers in the world, are expecting speed. Yeah. Now, does it mean that the other 4 performance objectives of operations are not important? Okay, let me refresh the performance objective of operations. Quality, right? Cost. You cannot have both usually, right? You want to have quality but low cost. Okay, good luck with that. Speed, dependability, and flexibility. I don't mean that we are driven primarily by customers, but the thing is, even though 5 of the performance objectives are in our control, but you cannot control what customer wants, right? It's the dynamic that the market gives, and it's actually affected by many things, socio-economic, educations, and the trend every year. So the thing is, you might, as a business owner or as a decision maker in a company or institution, you might want to care about the speed, whatever it is, especially if you're doing services. Okay, now what can be done? Usually speed is about right sizing the resources and also improving your business processes. Okay, if you guys have questions about business processes, you let me know. Now, but before that, I mentioned, how can you actually measure whether your speed is okay or not? There are so many approaches. I'm just going to give you one of the easiest one. It's one of the lean methodology. It's DMAIC. You might hear about this again in operation class, but it's actually one of the element in lean methodology. So basically, you define your processes first. If you have a problem, you need to state your problem. You need to create your problem statement. You need to be quantifying your problem. Yeah, a good definition is quantifiable, and then you need to find, if it's not quantifiable enough, you need to find the right measurement. Okay, if for example, you're feeling that your services from the production processes until the customer feels really long, you need to be able to tell yourself that how long does it take. Okay, if you say that it's quite long, it's not quantifiable. You need to say it's taking like 24 hours from the productions to the customers. Okay, now we have a good problem definition. Then you need to find the measurement that you want to improve. If speed is your measurement, you need to find the measurement, you write it down. And then the thing is, you need, still in measurements area, you need to map your processes. Okay, again, this is operations. You need to map your processes, whether you're using fancy work processes with swim lane diagrams, or you're just using a fault tree, a vertical diagram, or whatever you can find in PowerPoint. Doesn't really matter, as long as you map the process, it's already half of the problem solved. Okay, and then identify your process waste. So usually this process waste is something that you want to analyze. So this is your process waste is something that you assume, or it's supposed to be your root causes, and then you'll try to analyze them. Okay, you analyze them using a couple of root cause analysis technique. Again, you can go as simply as using 5 whys questions. Ask why until 5 times until you can answer the 5th question. If not, 3 is already good. Or even you can use more fancy root cause analysis tool. You can use fishbone diagram and all that. But the thing is, as long as there's a systematical way for you to break down your assumed ways to something that you feel like this is the cause of the problem, you're already solving most of the problem. Find the root cause, write it down, you design the solutions, yeah, you implement the solutions. Don't forget to implement. Sometimes some project in the company stops at improvement, yet haven't been implemented at all. And then the thing is, you want to sustain your what do you call it, your solutions. You don't want that you're the one who create this solution and then you move from that company to something else, or to you promote to different positions, and then you don't want the next thing that you found, you find that your solution has not been sustained. Okay, so you want to standardize your solution. And even though I put this on how to speed up your processes, but it actually applies to most of the operational management approach. Okay, now last but not least, sustainability becomes qualifier. I thought we've done PKB and CSR. Yes, but let me give you 2 examples of how far a company could go for sustainability. Like this one, Honda and General Motor. In April last year, Honda and GM expanded manufacturing partnership to develop affordable electric vehicles in 2027. General Motors has also stated their ambition to sell only zero-emission cars and trucks by 2035. If you think about electric vehicles company in Indonesia, you might be thinking about Wuling, BYD, okay, Hyundai, and a couple of probably not fully electric, but hybrid. So, but the thing is, outside there in America, not even Tesla, Honda and GM has already started committing something. Okay, and then what else? Ford and Volkswagen, Huawei have announced similar partnership to jointly manufacture a slate of new electric vehicles in the coming years, which is supposed to be this year. I haven't seen it, but we'll see. Okay, who knows about Amcor? I didn't know. I Googled it. So basically, Amcor is global leader in developing and producing responsible packaging for a range of products. So a lot of products that we use are actually coming from Amcor. Maybe not in Indonesia, but a lot of products in America and in Europe. So the thing is, Amcor, given their really critical business, because there's going to be a lot of waste from packaging, Amcor is committed to develop all packaging to be recyclable and reusable by 2025. All right. So unless your your company doesn't think, unless your company go this far for that, we haven't even done anything for sustainability. Okay. So the thing is, in terms of sustainability, as one of the pillars of Industry 5.0, one of the keys, your company is actually part of the solutions, not part of the problem. So if your company is actually part of the solutions, yes, congratulations, you're actually moving to Industry 5.0. So yes, sustainability, again, from business perspective, sustainability is also important for reducing operational costs. This is no joke. Yeah, if you take this seriously and you bring to the high ups line management, you're actually use tactical communication. But the thing is, if you can prove them with data and facts, 99% I mean, whatever you ask about sustainability will be granted. Okay. Consumers are from the customer side, consumers are become increasingly concerned about the state of the environment. Okay. So the proof of this is actually there's okay, let's talk about projects. Yeah. Not even products and services, projects. If you want to get funded by multilateral development bank for any project in Indonesia, 100% you'll have sustainability costs, yeah, which is usually 5 to 10% of I don't know how many trillions of rupiahs that has to go into sustainability, yeah, minimum 1% if I'm not mistaken. So strategy in industry 5.0 means company are becoming part of the solutions, like I said, not becoming the problem. So yes, I know it's quite fast and quick, but I hope it gives you brief information about Industry 5.0 and a couple of approaches that you can use. And if you have questions, are we doing Q&A right now? Like 2 questions, or we just go to Pak Martyn? I don't know how many minutes I've been using.
Maybe after Mr. Martyn present his presentation.
So save your questions. And then thank you very much for your attention and energy.
Thank you, Mr. Marfan, for that insightful presentation on the operation management approach for Industry 5.0. Now let's process to the second sharing session. We have the privilege of hearing Mr. Martyn, who will share his valuable insight into the transformational impact of geospatial intelligence on business decision-making process. Please welcome Mr. Martyn.
Hello, everybody. Well, I will sit down. I want to be energetic like this guy. I'm sorry I've got a bad voice. I've been talking all week at different events, and it seems to happen to me every time I do these events, I lose my voice. Last year, I did a TV event with Pakistan Diaga Uno, and I lost my voice as well. So it just seems to be the bad luck I have. So first of all, does anyone know anything about geospatial software? Has anyone ever heard of it? Does anyone know what it is? Anybody? One person? 2? 3? We've got some. People are shy. But yeah, so 7 years ago, I'd never heard what geospatial software was either. I spent 16 years in investment banking, no real technology background at all. Retired quite young, didn't know what to do. I came up to Indonesia to meet some old friends and clients who convinced me this was the place to come to invest. And through talking to several people, deans from universities, political figures, business leaders, I decided that this was what I wanted to get into. So I studied the market, see how many companies do this globally. In the US, there's many, many companies, but in Indonesia, it's still very early stage. So basically, that's what brought me to Indonesia. I started a PT PMA around nearly 5 years ago. We started with 4 people, and we now have 150 people. We are financed by myself and my close friends. So it's not the, when talking about sustainability, we've always been working on sustainability. It's not a new thing. We've always based our business on making profit, which we will do this year. So it's we haven't been laying off our staff, have we, Aqua? My staff at the back there. No, but we've had some problems, however, with losing staff to some of the unicorns that pay double salaries. But now, unfortunately, that's all changed. So yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of background today to why we believe that geospatial intelligence is going to become extremely important for Indonesia. And this is a business that globally is growing by around 15.9%. And I think when it comes to Asia, it's around 22%. But again, still very early stages here. So geospatial intelligence simply is just basically the analysis of location-based data to gain insights and make better decisions. So when I got into this again, you look at Indonesia, there is so much data. Companies have so much data. The government has so much data, but it's a real mess. It's all over the place. It's not organized. So what we do, we pull all the data together, we clean the data, and then we use that data with machine learning to make predictions. So there's various parts of how you can use geospatial intelligence. Sometimes it's quite as simple as data visualization. The government's data in spreadsheets is quite messy. So what we can do is put it into a map so people can click on any DESA and see how many people there based on the telco, based on demographic data. We can look at all the points of interest, all the toko kelontong, anything we can look at by just visualizing data. A lot of companies have huge amounts of data that looks far better and is far more organized when it's in a map. The engine, how we use an engine, all these data sets are put into there, and then you can effectively, what the GIS engine does, that actually analyzes that data and actually uses machine learning to make predictions based on that data. Obviously, there's a lot of data needs acquiring, and we basically acquire it from very many sources and then clean it. The thing is about everyone's now talking about ChatGPT. There's one major problem with ChatGPT. The internet is not a clean data source. So, I've put some stuff in there about myself and it's just wrong. Somebody said something about me and it's not actually true. So yeah, unless the data is a clean source. So we spend millions of dollars cleaning data, making sure it's not duplicated, making sure everything is 100% correct. And yeah, the main part is the analytics. Data, everyone talks about big data, but most of the data is just in a mess and cannot be used effectively. Big corporations in Indonesia are currently, in the vast majority of cases, not using data to the best of their ability. So these are some of the areas that we work in, or we have worked in. Retail F&B. My first client in Indonesia was Kopi Janji Jiwa. I turned up, we just finished our software, and not finished, but first stage. And I was trying to find a client who's going to give us a use case. So I called a few people and they told me to get lost. And then I finally called Pak Billy, who's the owner of Janji Jiwa. And he said, yeah, go on, we'll give you a chance. And yeah, so it's worked out quite well. We've now got a relationship for over 3 years using our software, and they use our software to predict where to open their stores. So effectively, they look at the best. When we started off, they looked at the best 10 stores in Jakarta, and they looked at the commonalities. Is that near a school? Is it near a hospital? What kind of population? What's the foot traffic like based on the telco data? What kind of people live in the location based on what apps people are looking at in that area on their phone? Now, this is anonymized data. We don't know who you are, but we know what you're doing, basically. So we know what apps you're looking at. Are you a foodie? And that kind of thing. Also, we can combine our data with their data to also make predictions. So effectively, we did that, and then they use the same data with the algorithm to make a decision where to open in Solo, Surabaya, everywhere. Basically, that's how they did this. We're now also working with XXI Cinema. Again, they are now doing standalone cinemas. So XXI combine our data with the Tix app data, and we predict not only where they should open the new cinemas, what films they should show in each cinema, how many screens, what they should open first. This is all based on the data, and the change in revenue is significant. So once we've got use cases, this becomes very easy because it's quite easy to add 10% revenue in these businesses. Yeah, logistics. We work with people like Kraft Heinz to sequence their delivery routing to ensure that their distribution points are in the right place, that they are not cannibalizing themselves. So effectively, I think around a few weeks ago, I did a podcast with Mr. Risky over there. He's there now, sorry. He's moved while I was talking. And, one of the things we discussed at that podcast was how Luhut Panjaitan, who I actually saw this morning, has come out and he said that he wants Indonesia to cut the cost of their supply chain. Indonesia has one of the highest supply chain costs in the world, around 26% of cost. So every product, 26% of that goes into the supply chain. which makes products here extremely uncompetitive. Now, a few people got offended at me because they said you can't compare Indonesia to other countries. So eventually we compared it to the Philippines, and it's the same. Philippines is 10% cheaper supply chain. So why is this like this with supply chain here? Well, I think there's a lack of will among some people who quite enjoy the confusion. But to be honest, there is multiple things you can do to ensure that your supply chain is done more effectively by just using the data, making sure you are not in the flooding data, crime data, routing, how wide the roads are, making sure that you use with Kraft Heinz, we can actually cut their costs of fuel by around 11%. And then they can then also use that to cut their carbon footprint, which is also part of the ESG. So yeah, anything urban planning. I'm talking to Jakarta about this. They're planning to run buses in other cities as well. Where do they put their stops? How do they know who's going to be there? How do they know the kind of people who take buses? In the past, they've gone around asking people. It's taken forever. In other countries, they just use geospatial software for all of this. And after many, many meetings, I'm now convincing the top people here that this is what you need to be doing. Yeah, so marketing, checking out and analyzing everything, gain insights into customer experiences. This can be done multiple ways. I'm talking to media companies at the moment, where to put their advertising boards, what to advertise where. Everything can come back to the data. So you can focus your resources and the money that you have to actually deliver the best possible results based on the data effectively. Yeah, it's quite simple. If you have the data and it's all visualized properly, you can decide where to target, what kind of clients are going to be there. And obviously, it's pretty common sense that you'll be far more successful. There's cases of certain companies here who've opened 24-hour stores when there is no foot traffic in the evenings. So this could have been solved by just looking at the telco data, by analyzing the traffic in the street. So many things are not done, and that's possibly because in the past, a lot of decisions in Indonesia is driven by maybe the wrong thing. I mean, particularly in real estate, when people are deciding where to put the branch, it's often decided with the agent who has the relationship with the business development. So people are not, by moving to this area objectively, they're moving because the agent suggested this place without any proper research. This can be solved straight away, and it's a huge saving. I mean, Genji Jiwa they can pretty much guarantee that their yield will go up just based on simple things like people traffic, demography, and making sure that they're following the same pattern that has made them successful previously. Yeah, back again to site selection. Same old thing, really, that if you know exactly where what your target audience is, we can find that target audience. We are not consultants, so we sell software as a service. We basically put it into the client's office and they use it. Most of these guys know what their target client is. They just had no idea how to use it, how to find it previously. We also build on-premise software for people, including the police, where we basically manage all the data from CCTV cameras and things like this. So it's very wide. We are actually industry agnostic, but obviously the most basic thing, F&B and retail, where do you want to put your stores? Logistics, how do you want to cut your cost? Basic, I mean, we've grown quite well, but it's amazed how many people I've met here who just, it's okay, boss. We've done okay before. Don't worry about it. We're not ready for it yet. It's been quite hard to get Indonesian companies to adopt this. But now we've got Astra adopting this. We've got BPN adopting this, the government. We've got, a lot of major corporations now, Lintas Arta. So we've got around 35 clients now, big ones. But at first, when I first knocking on the doors of people acting like I'm crazy. But McDonald's is our client. So it's building now because people can see the use cases and the saving is just huge, actually. It's common sense, actually. Back again, we discussed this already, cutting the cost of supply chain. This is on the telco data side of things, that if you know where people are, we're even talking to political parties about the campaigning, so they're in the right place at the right time. So I believe we'll have a very good year next year with the election. Went to an event this morning to try to meet as many people as possible. But yeah, I think this is going to be huge because they're all like want to know who's where and what their thoughts are. And yeah, it's anonymized data, but we can pretty much tell, where these people should be focusing. Particularly for the outer islands where there's very little knowledge known. People just don't have the knowledge of the outer islands. And therefore, if they want to expand their business and they want to look at the long-term strategy for success, this kind of data put in one place, visualized, really, really helps them. See, what's going to happen? Well, I think, to be honest, this is talking about the overall market, because Indonesia is still very early stage. So I think we're a long time off a lot of this. But yeah, if you look at the overall market globally, these are some of the things that are becoming more and more prevalent in the market. There's so many big companies in the US. Palantir, they've just signed a contract with the government in the UK for £16 million to do something similar to this. So yeah, integration with new technologies, IoTs. This is what we use with the police. We just put a tender in for a deal in Papua with the army. So there's all where we link our software to drones to check out all the separatist behavior and such. So we partner with a company that makes drones, specifically which can survive in the climates of Papua. Again, analytics, it's all the same. It's very simple to me. I mean, as I said, I'm not a technologist, but when somebody explained to me that you can link, I think big data is one thing, but if you can link that data to geographical position, I think it's far more useful. I mean, it's just, for me, that's common sense, that you don't have to be a technologist for that. If you, data in spreadsheets, and what's really amazing is, I won't name the companies, but we've sold our software to some companies in Indonesia, and then their team have tried to take the data from our software and put it in a spreadsheet. So it kind of blows my mind, because I think they've always used spreadsheets and it's something that they don't want to make a change. So sometimes after their management have forced them to use this software, they've then just tried to take the data and put it in a spreadsheet, which kind of defeats the object of what we're trying to do. Yeah, obviously smart cities. I sit on various committees about the new capital. Obviously, it's something we want to be heavily involved in, as I think the only homegrown GIS company, as in we're the only people that make, one of the few companies I think in Indonesia at all that is principal. So we do not white label anything. All of our software is built in BSD by Indonesian kids. So it's not the same as buying something from China and building on top of it. We build it here. So obviously we really want to be involved with this new capital city, because we have all the dashboard to manage all the smart cities when you combine with IoTs, etc. I mean, I think the drones and the cars is a bit far off, because the internet goes down too often at the moment. But yeah, you can implement any of this stuff. I mean, the drones thing, I think it's going to be difficult for a while for the average person to have access to that kind of thing. See, I do believe this is true. As I said, we started 5 years ago. Our business, it was hard at first, but I think, as a technology company, we're one of the few that actually make money. We're one of the few that's growing here. We're not laying people off. We're still hiring. But I guess we had a completely different approach since the beginning. It was always aimed at doing this because we didn't have limitless resources. But I think it's common sense. Geospatial intelligence will transform business and is transforming business in Indonesia. We believe that in the next 5 years it will become the norm. We believe it'll become the norm. And this week I've met the Wings Group family. I met Mr. Chiputra 2 weeks ago. We are really pushing this with the top people to make them understand, give them use cases. That's why I was at the event this morning with Dino Pati Jalal, pushing our business like crazy, because most of these guys actually now they've got use cases. They know they need this, and they're just delaying in some cases. But the more and more use cases we get, getting a Lintas Arta, We have Telecom Properties, our client, Bugol. So we're moving more at these, getting more and more of these big clients. Distribution companies as well. Dua Berlin, which is the distributor for SG Johnson. But yeah, I think it's going to become the norm, and I think people will have to accept this by leveraging. I mean, one of the biggest problems we've got, and you guys will all know the problem, our software basically stops corruption in many circumstances. So the blocking is quite significant. You really need to talk to the top person, the family, or the person. It's hard because, yeah, once everything's digitalized and once everybody knows what's going on, once everybody knows that this is the best location, if this is the best location, why are you building there? So they're going to ask, why are you building there? Well, you're building there because the guy who owns there give me some money to open there. And that's what's happened for years in Indonesia. And why are we doing this here? Oh, because my mate owns the land here. That stops when it's all digitalized. Completely stops. And, you know, BPN, I mean, I was the only foreigner for sure, but we were the only private company invited to the BPN National Conference. And I wasn't particularly welcome, I don't think. I was invited by the minister, but I think down from that, people are not particularly happy because it's a huge change. Because I don't know the history behind this. I'm new to Indonesia and I'm not political, but it appears to me that that's been a very nice income stream for lots of people. So once this becomes digitalized, it's over. But that's even in private sector. There is some cases where, Giant Supermarket, pulled out of Indonesia. They opened 3 supermarkets next to each other in BSD. You know, it's obviously, why would they do that? They would do it because somebody got rich doing it, I guess. And this is the case. So this is going to obviously drive revenue and increase profitability for companies. Yeah, I think as everybody starts adopting it, it's going to be a force to do because of competition. Because if you keep on doing the same old thing and the results are different, the results are not going to change if you don't change the way you do things. You know, I do hear people always tell me, you guys don't understand, this is not the US, this is not Europe, this is Indonesia. That seems to be like a cop-out. It's just like, yeah, this is Indonesia, which is your excuse for taking the money, effectively. But the reality is, if this is going to be the 4th largest economy in the world, it cannot continue to adapt the current levels of technology. Because I know you guys love to talk, I love the government here love to talk about, oh, we're going to digitize MSMEs. You can't make money digitizing MSMEs. Nearly all the companies who've tried have failed miserably. Why are you trying to digitize MSMEs when you haven't digitalized the big companies yet and the government yet? Because the digitalization in Indonesia is very low still. It's very low. At the government level, it's very low. And they have no roadmap. Everything's project by project. The trouble with project by project is one guy, PIC change in Indonesia about every 6 months. So even in companies that I know the owners, I've had to explain to them, yeah, but mate, every 6 months you're changing. This is not sustainable. So you need to have a roadmap of proper technology. You know, when I used to work in finance, we didn't change Bloomberg terminals every year. We signed a 10-year contract with Bloomberg. That's how it worked. So here, every new transformation guy wants to bring his own guys in. And it's kind of it's become, you know, an easy way to make money for a lot of people, but it hasn't advanced the technology of Indonesia. So, you know, as things become more competitive, things become, you know, hopefully with less corruption, this is just going to become the norm, I believe. So that's it. Any questions, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martyn, for your valuable insight into the transformational impact of geospatial intelligence on business decision making. Now we'll move on to the Q&A session. This is an opportunity for you guys, the audience, to engage with our speakers. So if you have any question or comments, please raise your hand and state your name.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Adiasa. I'm from MMR 69. And I would like to pitch some questions for Mr. Martyn first about a specificity of the project using your company's software. I heard earlier that you synergize with XX1 and Kopi Janji Jiwa. Yeah, to decide which sites is better for expansions. And I'm curious, what are the sizes of teams implemented for the projects to decide which site is better, and for the duration also, how the shortest and the longest durations in deciding the expansion.
Right. So going back to what I said, it's not project by project. So we put software into, say, XXI, or as Indonesians call it, XX1. But into XXI, right? We put our software into there, and then they use it. Now, the difference is, and this is another pushback. Yeah, of course, the business development team does not need to be anywhere near as big as it used to be. So obviously, business development also maybe have some pushback at this if there's a big BD team. But Genji Jiwa never had a big BD team, and neither did XXI. So before they started their mass expansion, they met us and discussed this. So to be honest, I think they need maximum 5 people to do the whole country. They don't need any people. And that's why you're smiling, because of course, when I talk to other companies who have 30 BD people, they see this as like, this ain't the best idea to show my boss, is it? Unfortunately, your boss will find out soon, like at McDonald's and stuff. They find out eventually because I just knock on doors and end up talking to Pax Sosro and just push, right? But of course, it requires far less people. We can put our software and teach people how to use it in like 1 day. So we can put our software into the building in 1 day. They usually have the parameters already of what they're looking for. And then we do training, whenever they need the training. It's an annual contract. Once they renew the annual contract, and we keep updating data, we keep training, we add features as we become more mature, because we're only a 5-year-old company. But it's a software as a service. Even the enterprise software we sell to the government, we really push the roadmap. There's no point in buying our software for 1 year. It's a waste of time. So the roadmap. So if we put it into the government, we'll put enterprise software on their premise. But then what we will do, we will charge them 20 to 30% a year for extra training, updating data all the time, new modules, etc., etc. So it needs far less people to manage it. It's very easy to train people. It simplifies everything, to be honest.
Thank you for the answer. That answers my questions.
Another question? Okay.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Join. Saya dari industri semen. Saya pertanyaan ke Pak Marfan. Kalau lihat dari penjelasan Bapak kan, industri 4.0, 5.0 ini kan lebih banyak ke human centric, resilient, sustainable. Resilient, sustainable, clear menurut saya. Cuma untuk yang human centric, Pak, ini kan yang dari penjelasan Bapak, kalau kita belajar di manajemen operasi itu kan ada keseimbangan antara variability dan cost. Nah, untuk yang human centric artinya kan ini akan mengakomodasi keinginan dari si customer. Oke, mungkin trennya akan ke sana. Tapi apakah itu berarti kita akan mengorbankan dari sisi cost? Berkaca dari industri saya yang memang cukup sangat kompetitif, yang saya berada di dalamnya itu, artinya kita akan terus menggunakan teknologi yang itu saat ini mungkin belum murah, artinya akan mahal untuk men-serve customer, tapi itu akan menciptakan variability karena memang customer centric tadi atau human centric, walaupun sini ada employee tapi salah satunya mungkin dari sisi customer. Bagaimana menurut Bapak untuk terkait sama keseimbangan ini dengan dihubungkan dengan profitability dari sisi industri? Itu aja, makasih.
Terima kasih pertanyaannya. Saya punya berita buruk. Sebenarnya ketika saya bilang human centric, ya, ini sebenarnya sama sekali tidak ke customernya. Artinya variability-nya lebih banyak lagi kan. Artinya kalau employee-nya aja harus diperhatikan, belum lagi customer-nya, berarti sebenarnya sebenarnya challenge-nya lebih besar lagi. Jadi pertama-tama gini, apakah kita harus ikut industri 5.0? Itu dulu, ya kan? Apakah kita harus ikut? Terus kalau misalnya kita nggak ikut, kenapa? Apakah ada regulasinya? Semua perusahaan harus ikut itu. Nah, yang saya mau bilang adalah, mari pertama-tama kita bedakan dulu mana yang license to operate, mana yang tren sekarang atau mungkin the way industry does their work nowadays gitu. Nah, tapi di industri 5.0 sayangnya ada beberapa elemen yang mungkin beririsan dengan hal-hal yang berhubungan dengan let's say SDG, Sustainable Development Goals ya. Dari 17 Sustainable Development Goals mungkin beberapanya itu related banget di industri 5.0. So, apapun industrinya berarti kan mau tidak mau kita harus ke arah sana gitu. Nah, tapi pertanyaannya sejauh mana kita bisa lakukan itu juga merupakan pertanyaan terbesar yang harus kita jawab dulu. Nah, sekarang gini, gimana caranya kita mau comply terhadap industri 5.0 kalau misalnya perusahaan kita aja nggak survive. So, jadi pertama-tama kita harus memastikan dulu bahwa perusahaan ini sehat dulu gitu. Sehat itu maksudnya secara keuangan, secara operasional sehat gitu. Nah, terus yang namanya perubahan itu kalau misalnya sesuatu yang instan itu kan juga pasti menyakitkan ya. Tiba-tiba kita udah enak, kalau saya ya, udah kuliah online, tiba-tiba di suatu hari itu diputuskan bahwa semester besok udah offline. Menyakitkan ya. Jadi yang perlu dilakukan adalah sembari kita melihat keseimbangan antara profitability dan variability-nya, kita measure dulu. Hal paling pertama dilakukan tuh measure gitu. Jadi kita ukur dulu sebenarnya sejauh mana kita bisa mengimplementasikan atau comply terhadap human centric element di sini deh. Let's not talk about sustainability dan resilience-nya, only the human centric gitu. Nah, terus baik lagi kita mundur nih ya dari kita mau menuju industri 5.0. Oke, kita memutuskan kita mau ke sana. Terus kita mikir kita survive nggak? Survive. Oke. Nah, sekarang kita mundur lagi di bagian mana dari human centric yang kita perlu implementasi. Jangan-jangan nggak ada faktor-faktor yang berhubungan dengan toxic company culture di perusahaan kita. Apakah kita sudah melakukan riset ke perusahaan gitu, ke employee kita? Nah, kalau misalnya kita belum melakukan riset, lakukan risetnya, lakukan surveinya. Buat teman-teman yang mungkin kerja di perusahaan-perusahaan yang sudah terbiasa melakukan employee engagement survey, saya cuma mau titip pesan, nggak ada gunanya employee engagement survey kalau itu nggak benar-benar dianalisis dan dikomunikasikan dan dimonitor feedbacknya sampai next employee engagement survey gitu. Nah, itu harus di-track. Nah, dari situ baru akan kelihatan sebenarnya elemen apa saja. Oh, ternyata dari hasil engagement survey, misalnya kita ambil contoh di Semen Indonesia, holding ya. Oke. Ya, misalnya kita di holding PT Semen Indonesia, ternyata saya ngebayangin aja ya, nih ternyata employee engagement survey-nya bilang bahwa di sini culture yang kita nggak mau atau elemen dari human capital yang kita nggak mau adalah satu, nggak ada work-life balance. Kedua, misalnya salary-nya ternyata nggak terlalu tinggi gitu dibanding industri lain atau mungkin industri sejenis gitu. Nah, itu yang dijadikan itu yang dianalisis dulu, bener nggak gitu. Jadi sejauh mana sebenarnya kalau misalnya dia bilang salary-nya ternyata low, apakah beneran salary-nya yang low atau memang ternyata bukan salary-nya low, memang orang-orangnya konsumtif gitu. Jadi jangan terburu-buru juga gitu. Tapi biar bagaimanapun setiap ada hal-hal seperti itu harus direspon. No respond is actually a statement juga kan. Gitu. Jadi kembali ke sana, cek dulu, measure dulu masalahnya tuh apa. Nah, terus elemen-elemen apa aja yang bisa meningkatkan well-being orangnya. Human centric is about well-being gitu. Kita belum sampai seperti New Zealand. New Zealand ada kementerian yang benar-benar melakukan, yang benar-benar bertugas untuk memonitor, mendevelop, mendefine semua regulasi untuk memastikan well-being citizen-nya. Kita belum sampai sana gitu. Tapi kita bisa mulai sampai sana. Kita bisa step by step gitu. Jadi gabungan dari measurement di awal, terus bikin plan. Habis itu kan company juga akan grow kan, company kan juga akan growing. Nah, seiring dengan company growing, kita juga mengimplementasikan inisiatif-inisiatif untuk meningkatkan well-being-nya. That's it. Jadi tanpa kita menyelakakan bottom line dari perusahaannya, kita juga improving our well-being gitu. So menurut saya sih secara general seperti itu, tapi secara spesifik pastinya tiap industri beda. Tapi pesan saya cuma satu, ukur dulu masalahnya apa, ya, measure dulu, dan measurementnya jangan sembarangan, sedetail mungkin, takes time buat itu. Jangan cuma for the sake of dilaporkan ke manajemen aja. Gitu. Mungkin ada pertanyaan tambahan?
Tambahan tadi kan, oke, kita bisa menuju ke sana, kita belum tingkat dengan New Zealand, dengan GDP per kapita kita yang sekarang, let's say kita negara berkembang, menurut Bapak, dengan supporting system kita otomatis kan tadi beda dengan New Zealand, belum ada lah istilahnya untuk di negara kita. Kapan kita bisa, atau sebenarnya kita udah bisa menerapkan industri 5.0 di Indonesia, mungkin untuk beberapa industri, atau memang kayaknya masih butuh waktu. Bagaimana menurut Bapak?
Oke. First thing first, ini opini saya. Karena industri 5.0 ini juga sesuatu yang mungkin beberapa pencetus 4.0 masih berusaha keras untuk mempercayainya gitu. Oke. Tapi menurut saya seperti ini. Tanpa ada 5.0, kita moving towards sustainable development goals, ya kan? Itu udah pasti, gitu. Nah, dengan adanya industri 5.0, ya mungkin some people, ya some decision maker global worldwidely menstate bahwa kita mau mempercepat, mengakselerasi beberapa elemen di Sustainable Development Goals yang ternyata masalahnya dari industri. Makanya ada industri 5.0 plus pandemi juga. Oke. Nah, kalau misalnya ditanya seberapa cepat kita bisa seperti itu, saya rasa jawabannya itu benar-benar lagi-lagi tergantung sama industrinya apa, masalah di industrinya tuh apa gitu. Saya ambil contoh deh, industri yang atau gini, saya tanya, kita survei singkat aja. Menurut teman-teman di sini, kira-kira industri apa yang well-being-nya paling jeopardize setahun terakhir? What industry? I'm taking a quick survey. What industry that do you think whose well-being of the employee is mostly jeopardized in the last years, in the last 2 years? Startup, technology company. Okay, give me another example. Give me another example that isn't too obvious.
But they did have it good for a long time, right? So. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about technology company, all right? Nah, when we call technology company, my friend next to me is also a founder of technology company. We know that. But apakah do all technology companies suffers from well-being, deviation? I would say that. No, ya kan? What you see in the news, yaitu adalah what you see in the news is the content that the media wants you to see. Ya kan? Ya, I'm pretty sure that everyone is following e-commerce. Ya kan? Jadi, yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. And if you keep looking at that, you will hear about all the well-being element that is jeopardized in most of
the thing is, right, I see what you're saying, but people go to these companies because they pay completely different salaries than all the other companies. So I think you kind of got to accept, you see, because I've got the other problem. I lose staff to companies like this. Whatever I do, however, we have full healthcare. We look after everybody. Somebody has an accident, we never get rid of them. We run our company like an international organization. But then you'll still get somebody who will leave because they get offered more money at one of these companies that everybody knows the culture. So the issue is, I guess, that how much do people care about this? Because we've introduced all these things that you're talking about, all of them. Everything we try to do everything, but if somebody's offered more money to go to a company that they know this already, as you said, everybody knows, unfortunately, the culture here is to leave. They won't say, oh no, Martyn pays for my healthcare and Martyn's a nice chap. They'll go, no, these guys who are losing money have offered me more money. So that's the issue with all this, right? Because whatever you try to implement, it doesn't actually, unfortunately, from my perspective, it hasn't worked. Because it's working now because these companies are not hiring people anymore. But it wasn't working at the end. During COVID, it was fine because obviously no one was leaving. Straight after COVID, a couple of the VC companies came in for my guys. They just left. So
yeah. So what I'm trying to say is really align with what Martyn said. So even in technology company, I wouldn't say there's always a problem. You say Grab recently lays off, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000. I forgot the numbers, but it's supposed to be 1,000, I guess. Yeah. Do they really have problems in Grab in terms of well-being? So maybe in terms of layoff, I wouldn't have any say on that. But the thing is, pay attention on how they are doing when they're still working in a tech company. Yeah, the one that we said is apa namanya, the well-being while working is kind of, you know, in between the line. All right. So what I'm trying to say is, regardless your turnover rate of the company, yeah, whenever you are employing personnel in the company, you need to make sure that what Martyn said, the expectation from the employee is well heard, is well listened, so they know what to expect. Even if, okay, the thing is why it got why the discussions regarding layoff become explosive. It's because a lot of people are not expecting that. And why is that? Maybe they've heard that before, but they're not really into that. They're not really understanding the consequences, like what Martyn said. Okay, on the other hand, the company or the industry hasn't told them, but we're never going to be able to tell everything to the employee in terms of, hey, you know what, according to the forecast from McKinsey, like not in another 5 months you'll all be fired. No, we're not going to be able to say that. So the thing is, while you are employing people, just be simple, keep it simple. Okay. What you can do is you listen to their voice. The thing is, what are the things that you expect, and then if you throw a blind survey, they'll go, they'll go mad. They'll ask you, I want a PS5 on the lounge room, I want everything, right? But you can always negotiate. Negotiating with the employee is actually part of empowering the employee. If you see that employee wants to be part of management decision, even if the end result is the same, you're not going to have PS5, you're just going to have PS4. But having PS4 in the lounge is actually part of your mutual decisions. So the thing is, no matter to what degree you're going to improve your well-being of the company, start measuring and then start planning. Okay, I'm pretty sure, PT Semen Indonesia ataupun technology company who have profit margin of I don't know how much, I'm pretty sure 1% can be used for improving well-being. As simple as engagement, coffee time on every Friday and all that. Okay, itu. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih.
Oke, satu pertanyaan buat Pak Marfan ya. Di industri Revolution 5.0 ya, kita tahu bahwa 4.0 aja belum selesai gitu ya. Masih banyak company yang belum ngerti dan lain-lain, penggunaan teknologi dan lain-lain. Tapi saya pengen dapat perspektif ya kadang tadi kan human centric employee ya, walaupun tetap customer centric, tapi on top of it ada tadi human centric khususnya di workers. Nah, terhadap perkembangan yang sangat baru-baru ini dengan Gen AI gitu ya, dengan chat GPT-nya, use case-nya ya, apa impact-nya terhadap, saya nggak tahu lah apa di 4.0, karena di 4.0 juga udah ada AI juga, machine learning, analytics. Di 5.0 ya mungkin lebih canggih lagi, tapi at least yang saat ini ada dengan Gen AI, dengan LM-nya, large language model-nya, apa yang akan terimpact ke workers-nya? Karena setiap perubahan industri selalu ada yang tersubstitusi pekerjaannya. Selalu mau yang dari mekanisme ke elektrik ke komputer, selalu ada job-jobs yang akan hilang gitu. Nah, apakah ini nggak menimbulkan worry, kekhawatiran bahwa introducing new technology adalah jeopardizing mereka punya job juga sebenarnya gitu. Jadi apa view-nya, apalagi karena ini dengan yang kalau di 4.0 mungkin machine learning hanya simple one task gitu ya. Tapi di Gen AI ini, large language model, dia mini task, analyzing, summarizing, generating, dan lain-lain gitu ya. View-nya kira-kira apa gitu ya terhadap perkembangan yang ini. Mungkin itu yang pertama. Yang kedua buat Pak Martyn, yeah. I would like to ask also about yours product actually. Actually, what is your top 3 verticals industry that currently you're really, I mean, in your technology, you really get what is your revenue streaming? Your revenue stream come from what top 3 vertical segment industry? And yeah, I believe one of them is food and beverage, F&B, yeah. And then I think you have also some potential use cases that you're planning to enter, but you haven't go through yet. I don't know what are the verticals, but you believe that your value of technology can solve the problem, but it is not yet accepted. I don't know for what reason. And what is your actually business model as well? I mean, related to those verticals, right? And you in another point, you're talking about telco data. I would like to know also about how do you see yourself to get the data and comply to this PDP or similar to like GDPR in Europe. How do you see your company able to comply getting the data beside on the other available public data that you getting from like BPS or stuff? Thank you. That's a question for Martyn. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I think the low-hanging fruit in our business is F&B and retail, obviously, because it's very straightforward. It's the most straightforward. But obviously, 1.5 years after we started this business, we started COVID-19, right? So unfortunately, it's kind of probably been a good thing for us, because if COVID-19 had not come along, we'd have probably just focused on F&B and retail. But during that process, we moved a lot into other sectors. FMCG was still needed at that time. Buckler Pack, for example, when they were doing the Mitra, we had all the data regarding the Toko Kelontong. So we moved into different sectors due to the conditions. Now, F&B and retail was out of the business for 2 years, basically. But now, F&B and retail's back again. We're getting more and more F&B and retail clients. I think ST has just signed a contract with us this week. And that kind of business, there's so many of them, right? So many startups, family businesses, F&B backed and opening many. So that is the low-hanging fruit, because we can show very, very quickly how this works. Our revenue, our model is we have 3 ways of doing this. We have a software as a service model, which is what I've just talked about, the simple F&B and retail site selection, basically. But then we have enterprise software that when we, like, for example, what I said about the police, where we do a joint venture with other companies, and we partner in relation to the CCTV cameras and managing all the data as a dashboard. In relation to that, we work with various companies in Astra Group, which is, again, it's not just the basic software. We manage all aspects of their job. So, for example, it could be Honda HSO, which is Astra Honda Motor. It's from which port to use to bring the parts in, to where to put the factories, to the distribution hubs, where to put the showrooms, where to have the people on a Saturday trying to get people to buy the cars. It's a full, like, even routing, like optimizing the routing, so we can do everything for different clients. So that's what we call enterprise software. Obviously, the accounts are less, but the numbers are much bigger. So our basic software will cost starting price at about $20,000 a year, but our big ticket stuff goes into several $1 million. So that's more government and big corporations. All right. So there are 2 main, and we also started now selling individual reports. So we find that there's people who want to open 1 or 2 branches, but they don't want to pay for our software because it's too much. So we sell individual reports. We're doing it through our website for SMEs and such, so they can just buy 1 report for this area, buy 1 report for that area. So there's the 3 revenue streams. And as I said, it's very areas we haven't got into yet. We're just getting into mining, which is a kind of different part of our business, but the engine is the same. Palm oil, we haven't got the use case yet, but we're getting there. And when you come onto the data, the telco data, all our data is anonymized. So there's no problem with it. There's no problem with data that's anonymized. What I cannot do is contact you directly based on what I know about you. So I know that you're a guy, you know, how old you are, what apps you look at, but I don't know who you are. So often people come to us and ask us if we can give direct, you know, to people. We can't. So all we do is show the trend of the telco data. So that's why it's not foul of any of this regulation. It's not like we can't SMS blast you based on what we know about you. What we can say is, in this area of this city at this time of the day, there's a lot of women of this age who in the past have bought this, who like looking at F&B apps kind of thing. That's what we can do. We can't, so it's more trend than definitely who it is, obviously, because if you know who it is, it falls foul of all the law, yeah. All the law, yeah.
Sorry, for those industry that you try to enter, is it a price point barrier or is it a more return on investment?
I think it's the, well, it's new, maybe. I think it's the investment in some cases. We've really, the use case is the biggest struggle, right? So 2 weeks ago, I went to see Ciputra, right? The family of Ciputra. And we have no use cases yet for developers. Now, it's basic common sense that it would work for developers as well. But nobody wants to be the first, actually. And that's the biggest issue we've had with all this. Luckily, we've managed to harass people into being the first. And then once you've got a McDonald's, for example, in the F&B, everyone's in, right? A&W call you, everyone's in. But getting that client originally, like we've got Kraft Heinz now, so I can go and knock on Wings door, right? But nobody wants to be the first. So that's been the biggest issue here. Yeah, explaining to highly successful companies that have never ever had to use this before. Yeah, it's a challenge. I remember 2 or 3 years ago trying to sell this to Pax Sosro, the owner of McDonald's, and he was like, "Oh, we've already been very successful. We don't need this." So we have to repeatedly show them how you can make a huge saving. We have to like show them right, use cases, POC, until they crack eventually. But the more people start adopting the software, the easier it becomes. But the first case is always that. Like what Ciputra said to us was, "Get another developer, then we'll talk to you." But that's probably what Lippo are going to say as well. So yeah, that's the challenge for sure. And that's why if anyone knows me, I have to be quite aggressive with this because otherwise we can't get anything done. There's a reason that there's very few B2B and B2G software companies in Indonesia. There's no VC money available for it. So you've got to have your own resources. So the reason it's so difficult, the reason nobody does it, and the reason that the VCs were never interested is because it's very hard. You've really got to, you're doing something brand new that nobody's done before, and you're knocking on doors every day. You've really got to push and push. We use McKinsey papers. So I went to see the owners of Bluebird. Still talking to them now, and I showed them some reports, McKinsey and BCG, about demand planning. Because the biggest issue Bluebird have, when I first met them again, the answer is, "Oh, we've got 90% of the market, mate." And I'm like, "Yeah, but how much more money could you make if it was managed properly?" And I think that it's quite simple to say, if one of the problems Bluebird have is people often book a Bluebird and then they see another Bluebird go past and they cancel the Bluebird. So Bluebird cannibalize about 20% of themselves, which could be completely solved by demand planning, which is what I'm doing at the moment with them, with Pak Sigi, to Pak Andre, and putting together a proposal that we can actually solve this issue, which we know we can because it's been solved in every other country in the world. I mean, yeah, Indonesia is different. It's growing very fast. The first thing people say is, "We're different. We don't need this." It's answered everything. So you just got to keep knocking on doors. But it's harder and harder for, the other day talking to Family Mart CEO, he told me he didn't need our software, and then he posts on his social media, "Anyone know where I should open in Depok?" And I'm like, "What?" He actually posted this on his social media, and I'm like, "Hang on a minute, mate. You told me you knew what you were doing, and now you're asking people on your social media. It's crazy." So the other day, now he's taking it seriously because McDonald's is our client, and Wings. I was talking to the owners of Wings, so he's got to take it seriously. But when I've talked to him previously, that was his answer. Now, he's a nice guy and all that, but the attitude is, we know Indonesia better than Johnny Foreigner. That's the thing, right? It's introducing something new that's not been used before is the biggest challenge. But yeah, I mean, BPN, it took us forever to get this done, but we can end up showing them how what we can solve, we can achieve something that they couldn't do on their own. Another challenge is people decide, oh, we can do this ourselves. This is one of the biggest issues in Indonesia is that companies like Indosat and Bluebird, they see the valuations of startups. They don't want to be they don't want to be a telco company anymore. They don't want to be a taxi company anymore. They want to be like, Kofi Kanangan, what's it called? Technology-enabled coffee. Everybody wants to be a tech company now. So this is one of the issues that a lot of these companies want to build their own. But history tells you it very rarely works. I mean, if you look at Europe, no company builds their own GIS technology. They all buy it. So yeah, there's multiple. I would say one of them is never used it before, whatever the sector. If we haven't got use cases, that's a real challenge. And yeah, the other one is we will build this ourselves. I was talking to the ex-CIO of Indosat a few weeks ago because she's advising me on dealing with Indosat. And she was telling me 10 years ago, Indosat were going to build this. They haven't, because it's not quite as easy as people think. We spent, millions and millions of dollars building this from scratch. So, people get bored when you build. Everyone says they can do it. When it comes to the crunch, I mean, how many geospatial experts are there in the country? I mean, I hired the guy, the head of geospatial at Salim. I brought some guy in from Cambridge University in the UK, an Indonesian returnee. It's not so easy to replicate. Again, no one's done it in 77 years. So otherwise, everybody thinks they're going to do it now because I have. So yeah, but of course you've got to be pushing that. It's a challenge for sure.
Oke, jadi first questions. Bahas aja ya. Jadi coba kita mundur dulu ke industri industri 3.0 pas 3.0 mau ke 4.0. 3.0 apa sih? 3.0 itu kan otomasi. Ya kan? Jadi apapun yang tadinya nggak otomatis sekarang otomatis gitu. Mulai ada mesin-mesin gerbang otomatis dan lain-lain salah satunya. Terus 2 ke 3 itu banyak yang kehilangan occupations-nya pasti. Terus 3 ke 4 yang tadinya otomasi aja tapi masih mechanical, sekarang udah mulai digitalize gitu. Dari situ banyak hal-hal yang mungkin udah dikontrol dari jauh. Oleh karena itu mungkin personil-personil yang hands on tadinya di suatu aktivitas udah nggak ada lagi. Nah, poinnya adalah saya mau me-highlight apa yang dibicarain, bahwa memang benar setiap ada perubahan industri level pasti ada yang hilang gitu. Tapi pertanyaannya gini, sebelum saya masuk ke yang kelima, yang hilang itu, peran-peran yang hilang itu hilang karena apa? Apakah karena memang tidak dibutuhkan lagi, atau memang sebenarnya ke personel itu masih dibutuhkan, hanya saja kompetensinya tidak sesuai? Sebenarnya kan lebih ke yang kedua gitu. Nah, sekarang kita lihat industri 5.0 itu sebenarnya bedanya apa? Industri 5.0 itu sebenarnya bedanya adalah dia seperti 4.0, cuman bedanya semua digitalisasi, semua machine learning-nya, semua Internet of Things-nya, semua robots dan semua AI related atau AI generated product itu kerja side by side dengan manusianya. Gitu. Makanya 3 pilar utamanya adalah itu harus industri 5.0 itu harus human centric, resilient, dan sustainable. Nah, ini kan sebenarnya jauh lebih canggih lagi dibanding 4.0. Karena yang tadinya di 4.0 hanya sekedar terdigitalisasi, sekarang mungkin beberapa occupation, saya ambil contoh ya, customer service gitu. Customer service yang tadinya tetap orang tapi dia dari tempat lain, terus kita interaksi sama customer service device yang ada di setiap bank. Kali ini mungkin udah bukan orang lagi, tapi udah hologram AI generated gitu. Nah, sekarang pertanyaannya adalah apakah orang yang tadinya berperan sebagai customer service itu tidak dibutuhkan lagi? Dari sisi roles-nya, yes, mungkin kebutuhannya berkurang. Dan mungkin given a couple of years, mungkin kebutuhannya hilang atau benar-benar jadi significantly drop gitu. Tapi kebutuhan atas personilnya sebenarnya menurut saya itu nggak akan pernah hilang. Yes, ada hal-hal yang mungkin bisa dikerjakan oleh 1 orang. Tadinya 2 orang, yes, oke. Tapi yang namanya industri 5.0 sama seperti industri-industri lainnya, pasti yang ingin ditargetkan itu adalah growth of the company kan. Nah, ketika kita company-nya sudah tumbuh, let's say 3 kali lipat, 4 kali lipat, pasti there are more things to do. I guarantee that kalau yang ini. Jadi hanya karena size company-nya itu, hanya karena kita melakukan sesuatu lebih efisien sekarang, bukan berarti company-nya nggak butuh orang. Justru kita melakukan sesuatu lebih efisien supaya kita bisa dapat growth yang lebih tinggi. When we have growth, company akan butuh orang. The question is, when your company grow, when your company reach the growth that you targeted like years before, does the same personnel that you once used for something can keep up with the new responsibility? Tidak, belum tentu. That's the biggest problem. So, saya mau relate ini justru ke change management, ya. Whatever the industry revolution is, you need to have solid ironclad change management process dalam hal apapun. Jadi whatever you're aiming, hey, you guys are aiming to industry 5.0. Okay, what's your plan? What's your change management plan? Jadi ketika apa aja resikonya udah di-address semua belum? Kayak what kind of roles and occupations that will be taken over by robots or machine learning. Jangan lupa, the aim of 5.0 is to have humans work side by side with robots, machines, and all that. Itu aimnya. Nah, jadi dari awal tuh udah di-address. Nah, sehingga sehingga company bisa keep up dengan improving kompetensinya roles yang ada. It sounds theoretical, tapi trust me, ya, the sooner you start, the better, ya. Jadi kalau misalnya kita udah terlambat, ya udah mau nggak mau yang bisa kita lakukan apa? Ya you have to salvage people, karena kalau nggak company-nya hilang gitu. Kalau company-nya hilang, you'll have more risk gitu. Tapi kalau misalnya kalian sudah siapin dari jauh-jauh hari, setidak-tidaknya resiko itu bisa diminimalisasi gitu. And you can always recruit lagi ketika ya mungkin story will be different, tapi you can always absorb lagi orang-orang itu. At least better than kalian hilang company-nya. Nah, yang paling salah satu yang mau saya ingetin lagi adalah jangan lupa while you are employing your personnel, practice the well-being. Maksudnya ukur terus well-being-nya apa. Ukuran apa sih yang kita pakai itu kita improve terus gitu. Ya. Jadi terus tadi di pertanyaan juga ada kira-kira industri apa aja sih yang mungkin bakal kehilangan pekerjaan. Ini menurut saya ya, gitu. Ya saya ambil dari yang paling populer sekarang deh, fintech, ya kan. Berapa coba bank-bank konvensional yang udah pindah ke bank digital. Ya, when they go digital, meskipun nggak dibilangin, mungkin bank-bank besar nggak akan lay off orang. Mereka punya waktu cukup untuk top up kompetensinya pegawainya. Tapi apakah semua bank bisa seperti itu? Have you thought about bank yang mungkin bukan bank umum, BPR misalnya, Bank Perkreditan Rakyat. Berapa BPR yang try to go digital tapi mereka malah gagal gitu. Jadi misalnya di fintech, misalnya di perbankan, di banking and finance, what I think will be impacted a lot itu adalah posisi-posisi yang berhubungan dengan klien, customer services gitu. Itu udah mulai tergantikan oleh machine learning. Tapi to give you one solutions yang I can think of right now, people who used to become customer service manager, my sisters, one of the example, I have older sisters who work at Bank Permata, start from teller, sekarang dia branch manager, I guess. Dia udah biasa banget dealing dengan customer. Sorry sister, she's not digitalized at all. Tapi she's changing, she is transforming sekarang gitu. Dia berubah banget, dia bisa menjelaskan semua fitur-fitur di banknya dia dan lain-lain. She is a living example. She is like 7 years older than me, 46. Tapi she start digitalize herself mungkin baru 5 tahun lalu gitu. What I'm trying to say adalah her position is more shifted into business development, investor management, kayak ya she will be meeting people like Pak Martyn, karena her skill set dalam customer facing itu benar-benar berguna gitu. Tapi her skill set dalam menghandle customer services udah nggak berguna lagi gitu. That's just one example.
Bapak, maaf Bunia, tadi Bapak yang ini duluan. Setelah ini ya Pak ya.
Hi, Martin. I am Bim from Adira. So I am Bim from Adira. So regarding the geospatial spatial intelligence, so actually you say that your service is software as a service, right? Which the company will operate by themselves.
Yeah.
So what is the minimum requirement, or what kind of competency that the company should have? Should we have a data scientist or
For our basic software as a service, no. Again, you don't really need a data scientist. We have 25 of them, and we deal with everything in house. And that again is another challenge we have, because of course, in big companies here, they already have a lot of data scientists, and they see this as a threat, I guess. But no, for our basic software, in XXI, it's run by very, very few people, and the people who run it are old school BD guys. The guy is probably about my age, not done technology until he started using our software, works directly for the family. And yeah, we can train them how to use it in one day. So no, they don't need their own team of data scientists. Now, some companies, when we talk about enterprise software, to keep everybody happy, I would say, we co-develop. We've got that with some big corporations because it was the only way to get it done, where, yeah, their data scientists are involved somewhere along the line on their side, but we don't let them play with our side. But the reality is, no, most of the stuff in relation to what we do, obviously data scientists might be required for other elements of data. But when it comes to the geospatial, we have the all in-house team. Our guys go and advise the government. Yeah, we do everything ourselves. Yeah.
so data, geospatial data. So there's a lot of data, right?
Yeah.
You say before there's a telco data, maybe some statistical data for the number of people in that area and so on. Maybe like you say, maybe HSO, Honda. So how would you collect for some non-published data like the dealership, because it changes every time, right?
Right. So we actually, as we get new clients, we collect more data sometimes. So it depends. So for example, Toko Kelontong data, very, very popular. Everybody wants it now because everyone's moving into that sector. We have what we call Lokasi Community, which is basically made up of students who go around and collect that data and get, prizes, etc., based on the accuracy levels. And they will use our app to collect the data all over Indonesia, basically. So we have a network of students or people of outsourcing to collect the data like POI data. So that's something like we've recently done a deal with Agriaku, I think, when they were specifically looking for a kind of store, something to do with agriculture, I believe. I am on the investor side, but this came to us. And effectively what we are doing for them guys is collecting data we didn't currently have. So, but what we can do is once we have that data, we can update that data. We have it for the next clients in that sector. So sometimes it's new data, we have to collect it, but we have our own team, outsourced team to collect that kind of POI, that kind of data. We don't do surveys, but obviously the telco data is the live data, and then we collect all this kind of government data and put it together. So yeah, the biggest data we collect ourselves is like road network data, stuff that basically we need to know, like the rules of the road, things like that. So we have, similar to what Google does, motorbikes with cameras on, stuff like this, because we don't actually, maybe I didn't explain, we own the map. We don't use Google Maps either. So we bought another company, a Japanese company here actually. Also, we bought the Indonesian business who used to do satellite navigation for Toyota cars, and they pulled out of Indonesia. We bought that to start off with, and now we update ourselves. So, or our outsource group. So we have like, I think over 8,000 outsourced people collecting data. Obviously, it's expensive to collect the data. That's a lot of our cost goes on collecting the data. But we have economies of scale. You know, when we first talked to like Booker, they were going to collect their own data. Well, that would really not be a sensible option. So we collect all this data, and then we can sell it to multiple businesses.
And last one, mostly your current experience is Janji Jiwa and anything else that they ask you to build a business case to choose the right location to maximize the business, right?
Yeah.
Is there any that can geospatial do for other case? Like, let's say for increase the productivity.
Well, yeah, I mean, increased sales, obviously, we have demand planning. So increased sales forecasting. For example, telecom property, we turn it around. We basically, telecom property use our software to decide what to use the assets they already have for. So they have lots of assets which are not performing, and they want to turn that around to increase the performance of each of those assets. So it may be in a certain location, they have a school, and that will be better off as a hospital. That's just an example. So obviously the idea is to increase the performance of their overall portfolio of property. Similarly, we're talking, is it Lindo, the port agency, about something similar? Again, a lot of these guys have assets that they're not performing well at the moment. And sometimes they want to analyze why. And so it's not just site selection. For example, Astra Honda already have lots of dealerships. They want to know why some are performing well and some not, when the data suggests some should be performing well. So is that a human resources issue? What is the reason? So the data can highlight the issues that are there. So we can do sales forecasting based on the data. So if the sales forecasting is not being received, what is the issue? So it allows the management, senior management, to delve further into this.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, boss.
Probably this is next. Last question. Okay, so but this is your last question.
Thank you. First question for Pak Martyn. My name Arif. You know, I want to have your opinion. What do you think about the corporation that quote unquote developing or AKA copying software? For in case some in for big corporation, you know, in when they have some problem, they ask software company to resolve the problem, and then when a couple of years they develop their own by their own IT team, and to for example like SAP, yeah, you know, right? So we in my company we use SAP, but they have a lot of account, and if we have a lot of users, so you pay SAP hires, right? So right now we are developed with the Indian tech company to mirroring the SAP data to our own software. And after a couple of years, we make our own, so we don't use anymore the software.
What's your company?
Kawan Lama, you know.
Oh yes, I know I know the head of BD.
Okay.
Very well. Yes.
and then right now we have fraud problem in the fraud logistic because we have a lot of logistic from store to store or store to customer. So we found fraud from the drivers. So right now we have developed some apps, maybe not apps or application, but we still on progress on that. For your information, if you want to.
No, I know. Yeah. So what you just said is true. It's Pak Wibizono, right? Is your head of senior business. Wibizono is the head. Yeah. So yeah, I think he thinks he's going to develop software like ours as well. He's not.
Right
ours is a bit different. I think, yeah, you can. I don't think you can copy SAP, but you can do something not as good as them.
But I know we minimize the cost right now.
Of course,
Yeah.
I do understand that happens all the time. I think on certain softwares, when it comes to deep technology, all I've heard here is people talk about it. I've not heard anyone do it. I've had it from all the big corporations here. Oh, we can do it ourselves. To the very wealthiest family, told me they could do it themselves. And 2.5 years later, they haven't done it. They haven't even started it. So, yeah, I hear it a lot. I think you can do certain things yourselves. The cost of building our software would be around $20 million. So it's not worth it. It's not. We've spent over $20 million building our software. So if you're going to spend $20 million to save 100 grand a year, you probably need to be sacked in the first place.
I mean, after a couple of years, we learn about your software and we copy, aka
But
copying.
learning
What
about
do you
it,
think?
the cost of collecting the data, mate, it's still going to have to keep paying for it. So yeah, you can learn about it, but you'd have to get in like the best geospatial people in the country. So you'd have to pay them more than I'm paying them. So it's a very niche market. So yeah, I people say it all the time, but the cost to build geospatial software and collect the data, update the data, is way, way beyond what the cost of what makes sense building it. So I think we're getting around. Finally, I think I've got this through with Cinemas. They also been telling me for a long time they're going to do this. Smart Friend is going to be our client soon. It's very, very difficult to, unless you're going to spend a lot of money, of course. I told the GDP Ventures guys, of course you can build it for your group's companies like BCA, etc. But building it will cost you a lot of money. So that if you want to do it. But it's not as simple as copying, because you've got to, if you want to copy, you've got to use an engine anyway. We build the engine here. So these guys who are going to copy, usually they're not going to bother with the engine. So they try to buy the engine from China, which already cost them a couple of $1 million. So yeah, it's not the same. Geospatial is, most people, even the guys who operate here, the small guys, they buy their engine from China or from Esri in the US. The cost of that is extremely high. Then you've got to buy the data, which millions of dollars every year to collect the data. And then you want to have, if you want it on the cloud, I spend like $70,000 a month on cloud. It's not financially viable. That's why it's never happened. I hear it off everybody, but it's never happened. It is what has slowed some of my deals down, particularly heads of digital transformation telling their bosses that they can do this. I even recently sent my monthly data collection costs. I actually sent in the receipts to one of the big families here, because he was his digital transformation was telling him, oh, we can do this ourselves. I mean, your guy, he reckons he uses Feng Shui still. He told me, Pak Wibi, he said, no, boss, no, Indonesia different. I use Feng Shui, doing this a long time. So yeah, good luck there. So
one factor.
Tell him you met me. We have a love-hate relationship. No, I've been to see him. I've tried to discuss this with him. Yeah, he's old school, right? I'm waiting for him to retire to get that done, because he's old school, right? He's a nice guy, but for him, he doesn't see the need. For me, the amount of money they're investing on the living world or all this thing is huge. I believe that it's quite clearly easy to show him. It's the same argument as XXI. XXI is the same. They're building standalone now. Building living world and making a mistake costs a lot of money. But again, he's not a part of the family, right? So the family, usually I have to get to the family, to be honest, to get things done, because the fear has been discussed here. BD might not be getting paid as much anymore. You might not need 20 BD anymore. You won't need 20 data scientists anymore. So yeah, unfortunately, our software does digitalize, but it does have some effect on jobs. And certainly a lot of people love traveling around Indonesia, counting people. It's part of the job, right? Go to Manado for the weekend, pretend it's like, see if we're going to open this business, but actually it's just a jolly. That all stops, right? 90% of when you use our software, 90% will be done in the office. They'll only go for the very last bit. So again, a lot of people quite enjoy traveling around Indonesia, going to Bali to look at a new living world. It's good fun. So the last thing they want is talking to me. So yeah, that's one of the challenges, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe follow up it from your right now our group have the strategic division, and because us from the S hardware in US, we develop the strategic division to look after how to, like you said, where is our open the new stores
So this is the issue, right? So young people like yourself have taken me to Ace Hardware about 20 times. And when it comes to the BD, the gentleman we just mentioned, he's been there 20 odd years, right? He's quite keen to stop this kind of software, to be honest. So I've actually I can't remember his name. We got taken there last year and we thought we were going to move forward, but eventually I think it was kicked out by him, actually, I think.
Okay, thank you. Untuk Pak Marfan, mungkin saya mau nanya masalah fast trend. Jadi di grup kita pun juga ada yang namanya divisi manufacturing, bikin terutama buat bikin matras, terus ada pillow, juga ada sofa. Nah di situ sekarang ini kan kalau tadi bicara fast trend itu tiap tahun, kalau kayak HP tiap tahun Apple bikin HP baru, dan di industri furniture pun itu kayak gitu. Nah problemnya adalah kita tuh kayak lag behind gitu. Mereka cepat bikin tren baru dan kita harus ngikutin kan. Dan problemnya sekarang itu muncul ketika banyaknya idle stock yang di manufacturing kita nggak, dan kebanyakan tim BPIC kita itu kerjaannya hanya untuk bikin, karena kita pakai SAP, bikin artikel baru, terus bikin alternatif baru. Jadi itu kalau bicara 5.0 itu kayak kita aja udah pusing nih sama yang kita kerjain hari-hari karena trennya terus berubah. Jadi kita harus adapt-nya pun juga cepat. Kadang-kadang ini harus bikin keluar tipe baru, dan itu emang butuh kerjaan day to day-nya kan banyak. Nah, untuk starting dari 5.0 ini menurut Pak Marfan tuh starting dari mana bagusnya? Seperti itu, Pak.
Oke, saya confirm dulu ya. Jadi banyak produk-produk yang begitu tayang itu nggak lama udah berubah lagi.
Betul.
Jadi inventory nambah, inventory numpuk.
Inventorinya kalau finish good-nya sih enggak.
Finish good-nya enggak.
Lebih ke raw-nya.
Oke.
Lebih ke raw.
Oke. Sebenarnya ini isunya kombinasi antara product life cycle management sama operation management. Mau dijawab yang mana dulu deh?
Jawab semua ya, Pak.
Oke, yang produknya mungkin ini aja ya. Jadi ya intinya sih kalau produk ya, karena ini juga forumnya bukan forum produk. What I can say adalah ya you need to find a way supaya product life cycle-nya itu lebih ke, kan ada grafiknya ya, product life cycle. Mulai ya, betul gitu. Nah, you need to spend more investment atau invest more, baik itu time atau enggak, baik itu waktu atau uang, untuk lebih rapat lagi dalam ngikutin product cycle-nya gitu. Nah, sebelum saya lanjutin ke yang operation, ada nggak effort dari perusahaan untuk lebih mengimprove product life cycle-nya? Mengimprove keakuratan bukan marketing ya, tapi product launch-nya sama product life cycle-nya. Ada nggak effort di situ? Oke, belum sampai sana ya. Oke. Nah, kalau gitu, gini. Pokoknya perusahaan apapun, baik ini we're talking about divisions ya, only manufacturing divisions ya. But manufacturing divisions, I'll just assume that as an institution. So if the goal is not to have the manufacturing division destroyed, okay, to sustain that, okay. Now, in order to sustain that, I mentioned just now that it's a combination of product life cycle and also operations management. In order to sustain that, first you need to know dulu kan, produk-produknya itu sebenarnya it's just the problem of telat tayang atau ya problem di si life cycle-nya, or produknya itu nggak diterima gitu. Kalau if you feel like produknya itu hanya telat tayang, ya you'll more or less will see that the same product that has been launched earlier by your competitors are absorbed by the market. Yeah, you want to see that. If those are the things that you see, it means you need to speak up to the management, or the management has to identify this and align the product, align the production processes so as to meet the product life cycle. Ya, jadi itu diulang lagi itu studinya. Nah, if you feel like itu sudah dilakukan, ya sebenarnya in parallel, you need to make sure that the basic of operation processes, operations management are also complied gitu. Nah, contohnya simpel aja. Ya, have you map your processes? in manufacturing? Harusnya sudah. Okay. Have you review your processes? Reviewing meaning that you walk the process again, you printed out those process mapping, whether it's a value stream mapping atau mungkin just a process mapping, you walk the process again. And then while you're walking the processes, you also time that, you identify the reliable expectancy every step. Okay, this process takes 3 hours, this process take 1 week and all that. And then you align that again with the product life cycle dengan timing launchnya. If you say that your manufacturing division is relatively new, then you need to repeat the process review as probably as often as possible. I know that there's a lot of things to be done, so I'm strongly suggesting that you need to have someone or a group of people, separated outside your business as usual, that is looking after the continuous improvement. So meaning this group of people, 3 or 4 people, I cannot imagine how big is your manufacturing division, will see the processes day by day. And then they will see whether your processes actually match with the mapping. If your process map says that in order to produce this type of sofas, this type of other stuff takes this amounts of hours, they need to be on top of that. They need to tell the management or the decision maker that yes, we are complying with the processes. If you're complying with the processes but hasn't met the product launch period yang benar-benar sensitif itu, meaning you need to speed up your processes gitu. You need to improve lagi reliable expectancy-nya. And in order to do that, you need to review your process again. You need to walk the process again and then see how much waste you can identify in the processes that you can eliminate, and then you improve the process time, the lead time, the production time gitu. So it's again it's iterations all over again, diulang lagi, especially this is something new. If the manufacturing division has been around for a while, and then you're kind of on top of the market, meaning you know exactly, or your product launch period are expanding, jadi you have wider tolerance of product launch timing, then you can do the review maybe less often gitu. Tapi at this point you need to have separate people to look after your continuous improvement processes, karena ya mereka yang akan benar-benar memberikan feedback ke decision maker supaya product launch-nya itu bisa meet up gitu. I hope this answer. If you have any more comments, let me know. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for your active participation. It's really nice discussion. As I conclude, geospatial intelligence operation management approach is really important tools for many industry, F&B, retail, logistic, and etc. Especially future transformation in industry 5.0. Okay, let's take a moment for a photo session. Yes, because yes, because we will give a gift for the 3 best.
This question is I faced the problem every day.
Okay, the first one, and then decline. One line. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm not really following. Okay, not following. I'm not looking into the question. I mean, I'm sorry as much as you are, but in terms of complex management, I don't think we can recommend that because open questions very
Okay. For the last one. Okay. Oke, selanjutnya untuk photo session pada pemberian plakat, mungkin yang pertama bisa dibantu sama Pak Rizky untuk pemberian ke Pak Martyn. Selanjutnya nanti akan diberikan oleh Ibu Nia. Yes,